Did you know that every year over 10,000 tons of Manuka honey are sold globally? Yet New Zealand only produces 1,700 tons? This means there is an 80% chance that the liquid gold sitting in your cabinet, the one you paid $200 for, is nothing more than overpriced, heat-treated sugar. While luxury wellness brands spend billions marketing the unique Manuka factor, they are deathly afraid of you discovering a $3 alternative hidden in your pantry. Imagine a substance so potent it was used by ancient civilizations as a biological shield, long before the $170 billion supplement industry existed. By combining common garlic with raw honey and allowing a simple 3-week fermentation, you aren't just making a condiment, you are performing cellular surgery. This process unlocks Allicin, a compound so volatile it usually dies in your stomach, and transforms it into a stable, bioavailable powerhouse that modern medicine struggles to replicate in a pill. You've been conditioned to believe that expensive equals effective. But while you chase high-price labels, you're missing out on a forgotten chemical reaction that costs less than a cup of coffee. Today, we're stripping away the marketing labels and decoding the science of the world's most powerful, forgotten ferment. Welcome to the truth. To understand why we are so easily deceived, we must first look at the altar of modern wellness. In upscale grocery stores from New York to London, a single jar of Manuka honey can retail for upwards of $200. It is marketed not as food, but as a miracle, a liquid gold endowed with mystical healing properties. The industry has masterfully crafted a premium health halo around these products using sleek glass packaging and scientific-sounding certifications to justify a price tag that is, quite frankly, astronomical. But beneath this veneer of luxury lies a systemic deception that exploits our deepest desire for health. The first layer of this illusion is the term raw. In the minds of most consumers, raw implies untouched, pristine, and teeming with live enzymes, exactly as the bees intended. However, the legal definition of raw in the international food trade is notoriously porous. To prevent honey from crystallizing on store shelves, a natural process that consumers mistakenly perceive as a sign of spoilage, many industrial producers employ micro-warming. This is a process of heating the honey just enough to dissolve crystals without technically crossing the legal threshold of pasteurization. While this keeps the honey liquid and transparent for months, it is a death sentence for the delicate diastase and invertase enzymes that give honey its medicinal value. You are paying a 2,000% premium for what has effectively become high fructose syrup with a fancy origin story. But the deception goes deeper than heat. The sheer math of the global honey trade reveals a darker truth. As mentioned earlier, the discrepancy between New Zealand's actual Manuka production and global sales volume suggests a massive influx of adulterated or stretched products. This is often achieved by blending a small amount of genuine Manuka with cheap industrial clover honey, or worse, C4 sugar syrups derived from corn or cane. These fillers are chemically engineered to bypass standard laboratory tests, leaving you with a jar that boasts a high unique Manuka factor, UMF, on the label, while the bottle's contents are biologically bankrupt. We have been conditioned to equate price with potency. We believe that if a product costs half a week's wages, it must possess a secret chemistry that our kitchen pantry lacks. This is the commercial illusion, the belief that health can be purchased in a pre-packaged, standardized format. We are trading our common sense for convenience, buying into a marketing narrative that prioritizes shelf life over biological life. The tragedy is not just the lost money, it is the lost opportunity to use real, living medicine that is currently sitting, ignored, in the form of a simple bulb of garlic and a humble, unbranded jar of local honey. In the world of premium honey, letters like MGO and UMF aren't just labels, they are the currency of trust. MGO stands for methylglyoxal, the specific compound found in Manuka honey that gives it its non-peroxide antibacterial activity. UMF, or unique Manuka factor, is a quality trademark that measures both MGO and other markers like leptospirin. On paper, these numbers look impressive. A jar with a UMF 20+ rating is marketed as a potent medical-grade tool. However, here's the biological reality the industry rarely discusses. These ratings are based on in vitro performance, meaning how the honey kills bacteria in a controlled petri dish, not inside the complex, acidic environment of the human digestive system. When you swallow a spoonful of high MgO honey, it immediately encounters your stomach acid and digestive enzymes. Methylglyoxal is highly reactive. It doesn't just wait to find a pathogen to kill. It reacts with proteins and amino acids in your own body before it can ever reach the systemic circulation in a meaningful concentration. Furthermore, honey's primary antibacterial mechanism is its osmotic pressure. Its high sugar content literally dehydrates bacteria. But once diluted in the blood or gut, that osmotic power vanishes. You are paying for a potency that is largely neutralized the moment it leaves the spoon. Now contrast this with the forgotten mechanism of garlic fermented in honey. When you submerge raw garlic into honey, you aren't just mixing two ingredients, you are initiating a sophisticated biochemical transition. Garlic contains alliin and an enzyme called Alliinase, kept in separate compartments of the plant cell. When crushed or sliced before being added to the honey, these two meet to create allicin, the atomic bomb of the plant world. But allicin is notoriously unstable. It disappears within hours at room temperature. This is where the honey acts as a biological stabilizer. The low pH and high antioxidant profile of raw honey trap the allicin, preventing it from degrading. As the fermentation progresses over weeks, the bacteria lactobacillus, naturally present on the garlic skins, begin to predigest the garlic's tough fibers. This process doesn't just preserve the allicin, it transforms it into stable organosulfur compounds like S-Allylcysteine, SAC. Unlike MgO, which is easily neutralized, SAC is highly water-soluble and boasts a nearly 100% bioavailability. It enters your bloodstream intact, providing systemic antioxidant and anti-inflammatory support that no static honey can match. The marketing war wants you to focus on a number on a label, a UMF 15, 20, or 25. It wants you to believe that a higher price point equals a more surgical strike against illness. But biology rewards complexity, not concentration. While the $200 honey relies on a single fragile compound, the $3 garlic ferment relies on a symphony of stabilized sulfur, living probiotics, and predigested enzymes. One is a product designed for a shelf, the other is a living medicine designed for a cell. To understand why this ferment is superior to any high-priced supplement, we must look at the microscopic drama occurring beneath the surface of the honey. When you submerge a crushed clove of garlic into raw honey, you are triggering a process of biological surgery. The central figure in this drama is allicin. In its natural state, allicin is garlic's defense mechanism, a volatile, pungent compound designed to kill fungi and bacteria on contact. However, allicin is notoriously fragile. It begins to degrade the second it is created, and if you were to cook it or dry it into a powder for a capsule, it would be almost entirely destroyed. This is where the alchemy begins. Raw honey is not just a sweetener, it is a high-density, low-moisture environment that acts as a protective shield. As the garlic sits in the honey, the osmosis process draws out the moisture and the potent sulfur compounds from the garlic cells. But instead of evaporating, these compounds are trapped in the honey's antioxidant matrix. Around day 3 or 4, you will notice tiny bubbles rising to the top. This is the signal that lactobacillus, wild beneficial bacteria, have awakened. These bacteria perform a task that the human digestive system struggles to do alone. They begin to break down the tough cellulose walls of the garlic. In a standard herbal capsule, your body often fails to penetrate these cell walls, leading to poor absorption. In the fermenting jar, the bacteria do the pre-digestion for you. They metabolize the harsh, irritating compounds in raw garlic, transforming the volatile allicin into a much more stable and potent derivative called S-Allylcysteine, SAC. Scientific studies have shown that SAC is nearly 100% bioavailable, meaning your body can actually use every milligram you ingest. It travels through the bloodstream, reaching the liver and the immune system with surgical precision. While a $200 jar of Manuka honey relies on its static antibacterial properties, this ferment is a dynamic living system. The bacteria continue to produce organic acids and enzymes that enhance the honey's own hydrogen peroxide activity, creating a synergistic supersubstance that is greater than the sum of its parts. The most fascinating part of this surgery is the change in the garlic itself. Over several weeks, the cloves lose their pungent burn and turn translucent, almost like amber. The honey becomes thinner, infused with the essence of the garlic. This change in physical structure is a visual proof of chemical transformation. You are no longer looking at a kitchen condiment. You are looking at a biopotentiated extract. The industry spends millions trying to stabilize allicin in laboratory settings using synthetic binders and enteric coatings. Yet a simple glass jar and the force of natural fermentation achieve a higher level of stability and bioavailability for a fraction of the cost. This is the hidden laboratory that the supplement industry cannot patent and therefore will never advertise. History is often written by the victors, and in the world of medicine, the victors are those who could patent their cures. For centuries before the advent of the $170 billion supplement industry, the combination of honey and garlic was known throughout the Mediterranean and Eastern Europe as the poor man's treacle or the monk's antibiotic. In the monastic hospitals of the Middle Ages, where resources were scarce but botanical knowledge was deep, this ferment was a primary defense against respiratory plagues and infected wounds. It wasn't considered a superfood with a luxury price tag. It was a fundamental biological necessity. The ancient practitioners understood something that we have forgotten in our rush toward convenience. Time is an ingredient. They didn't seek instant relief from a synthetic pill. Instead, they utilized the slow, transformative power of the oxymel, a Greek term meaning acid in honey. While traditional oxymels often use vinegar, the garlic honey ferment is a living variation of this ancient formula. In the 12th century medical texts of Hildegard von Bingen, garlic was praised not just for its heat, but for its ability to clear the blood, especially when tempered by the soothing nature of honey. This wasn't folklore. It was an early understanding of systemic inflammation and circulatory health. So why did this knowledge vanish from our collective consciousness? The answer lies in the Industrial Revolution of medicine. In the mid-20th century, the discovery of isolated antibiotics like penicillin changed the world. Suddenly, the slow, 3-week fermentation process seemed obsolete compared to a standardized white pill that worked in hours. The medical establishment began to categorize traditional ferments as unscientific or unreliable because they couldn't be easily standardized or trademarked. You cannot patent a bulb of garlic, and you certainly cannot own the rights to a wild lactobacillus colony. As the pharmaceutical industry grew, it began to colonize the wellness space. They took the active compounds from traditional remedies, isolated them in a lab, stripped away the supporting enzymes and cofactors, and sold them back to us in expensive plastic bottles. We were told that raw was dangerous and processed was safe. We were conditioned to trust a laboratory seal more than our own kitchen counter. This historical erasure was incredibly effective. Today, a consumer will happily pay $200 for a jar of Manuka honey because it has a corporate certification, yet they will look at a jar of bubbling garlic honey with suspicion and fear. We have been disconnected from the very biological processes that kept our ancestors resilient. By rediscovering this ferment, we aren't just saving money. We are reclaiming a piece of human heritage that was intentionally smothered by the era of the pill. If you want to escape the premium health halo and create a truly bioavailable medicine, you must stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a fermenter. Creating the perfect garlic honey ferment, your $3 pharmacy, is a process of precision, not just mixing. The first and most critical step is the activation of the enzyme Alliinase. Most people make the mistake of dropping whole, peeled garlic cloves directly into honey. This is a wasted opportunity. To create allicin, the garlic cells must be ruptured. You must crush or slice the garlic and, crucially, let it sit at room temperature for 10 to 15 minutes before it ever touches the honey. This rest period allows the enzymatic reaction to reach its peak potency. Next is the choice of solvent. If you use pasteurized supermarket honey, the experiment fails. You need raw, unfiltered honey because it contains the wild yeasts and lactic acid bacteria necessary to drive the fermentation. When you combine the two, The ratio should be roughly 1/3 garlic to 2/3 honey. As you pour the honey over the crushed cloves, you are creating an anaerobic environment, a world without oxygen where the beneficial bacteria can thrive while suppressing harmful pathogens. The real ingredient that the supplement industry cannot sell you is patience. For the first 2 weeks, you must flip the jar daily to ensure every piece of garlic remains coated in honey, preventing any surface mold. You will see the honey become thin and runny as the garlic releases its juices. This is the sign that the cellular walls are breaking down and the sulfur compounds are being stabilized. By the end of the 3rd week, the aggressive, sulfurous bite of the garlic will have transformed into a mellow, savory sweet complexity. This isn't just a flavor change, it's a chemical transition. You now possess a stable liquid extract where the allicin has been converted into S-Allylcysteine. You didn't need a $200 label or a laboratory certification. You only needed 2 humble ingredients and the discipline to let nature perform its slow, perfect surgery. In the world of DIY health, enthusiasm must never outpace education. While the garlic honey ferment is a biological masterpiece, it is not a magic wand, and it must be handled with a respect for microbiology. The most common fear cited by skeptics is Clostridium botulinum. While honey is naturally acidic and garlic contains antimicrobial compounds, the risk of botulism, though extremely low, exists if the pH of the mixture rises above 4.6. This is why using raw, active honey is non-negotiable. Its natural acidity and hydrogen peroxide content act as a failsafe. For those who want absolute certainty, adding a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar to the mix ensures the environment remains too acidic for harmful spores to ever wake up. Furthermore, we must move away from the more is better mentality that the supplement industry has drilled into us. You do not need to consume an entire jar to see results. This ferment is a strategic tool, a biological nudge for your immune system. Taking 1 teaspoon of the infused honey or a single fermented clove daily during cold and flu season is more than enough to maintain the systemic benefits of S-Allylcysteine. Finally, recognize that no ferment can replace the foundations of health. It is an enhancer, not a substitute. If you are on blood-thinning medications or have upcoming surgery, the potent anti-platelet effects of garlic mean you must consult a professional. Authenticity in health comes from knowing both the power and the limits of your medicine. By respecting these boundaries, you transition from a passive consumer to a master of your own domestic pharmacy. The $200 jar of Manuka honey and the $3 jar of fermented garlic represent 2 fundamentally different philosophies of health. One belongs to a world of prestige, branding, and the commercial illusion, a world where we are taught to buy our way into wellness through expensive shortcuts. The other belongs to the kitchen, to the slow passage of time, and to a deep biological understanding that our ancestors lived by long before marketing budgets existed. As we've seen, the true power of medicine isn't found in a high price tag or a laboratory certification. It is found in the synergy of nature. When you choose to ferment, you are doing more than just saving money. You are reclaiming your role as a participant in your own health, rather than a mere consumer of a product. You are choosing a living, bioavailable reality over a static, processed promise. The next time you see a superfood with a triple-digit price tag, ask yourself, am I paying for the chemistry or am I paying for the story? Sometimes the most potent solutions are the ones hiding in plain sight, waiting for nothing more than a little time and a simple glass jar. If you're ready to question the convenience culture and rediscover the science of the forgotten, hit subscribe and join us. Let's bring the truth back to the kitchen. What will you ferment first? Let me know in the comments below.